Hey folks, with this whole pandemic thing, I figured I've got time to tell you about a secondhand business I was in. I'm definitely not new to the secondhand business or the salvage business or the thrift business or the surplus business. I've been involved in those through this store I opened briefly in Winnipeg. The business was called Salvage Craft Recycling, and that's craft with a K. So the initials of that are SKR. And the store was called Scroungers, and Scroungers spelled SKROUNGER''S. Scroungers Salvage, Surplus, and Thrift. Anyway, it didn't work out due to things beyond my control. Those things included black mold in the building, which I had to fight with the landlord to fix. The address didn't exist on the city's computers, which caused a host of problems, including not being able to get an occupancy permit, not being able to get a license, and eventually ended up getting same, but I had gone to the city previously and asked them various questions about the particular property, and they said, yes, you can set up retail there, etc., and I was paying $3,500 a month for a 5,000 square foot warehouse space, and on the assumption that it could be used as retail. As it turned out, that was not correct. I was given the incorrect information. Another thing that occurred was I wasn't getting my bills. I wasn't getting any of my first-class mail. Due to the address not existing on the city's computers, even though the address was painted on the window from 1900, it apparently didn't make it to the computers in the 70s or 80s when the city went to the computers. But because of this, the post office wouldn't deliver my first-class mail. I managed to get all my junk mail, including my addressed junk mail. Go figure. And I contacted various media outlets as well about the situation, about the bureaucratic BS that I was encountering. And it turned out, and I found out way too late, months too late, that I was only getting 25% of my phone calls due to a mechanical issue in one of the telephone systems stations. 25% of my phone calls. That's it. So the phone would ring on the caller's end a dozen times, 25 times, even though we had the machine set up to pick up after 3. And usually we would pick it up before the 3. But we weren't getting many phone calls. But we were only getting 25% of them. 75% of the time the switch did not work. So eventually, due to all of this, it's a little hard to make any money. And we did pay rent for a period of time. Eventually, it just wasn't possible between me being sick, not being able to even walk up a set of stairs without being winded, even though I helped fill the basement with product and inventory up and down stairs without a problem, and was quite healthy when we started. It also affected my mental health, depression, not being able to think straight, memory loss, etc. So there was a lot of other stuff going on. Made some very bad personal life decisions, bad business decisions, and wasn't able to keep it afloat. That's life. But so we got kicked out with 12 hours notice. Our relationship with the landlord wasn't pleasant in the end, but can't really do too much about that. It was just what happened, and they weren't willing to work with us and help with the situation of that we were dealt with the city, all the bureaucratic BS. And whether they should or not, anyway, I suppose is up for debate. And another thing is and another thing that occurred was we had a customer that that bought some merchandise. We put it on the loading dock. I told her to go around through the front door to the loading dock to pick up her stuff. She proceeded to go through the employee-only area, through the loading dock, jumped off the loading dock with short heels on, and broke her ankle. That would come back to haunt me about 2 years later, or a year later, I should say. Eventually, we had to shut the thing down due to not being able to pay rent, and the landlord gave us 12 hours to vacate, and then a week later called and offered us a deal where we'd have to pay $2,000 and clean out the building, and leave it at that. We declined. At that point, I was washing my hands of the whole thing, and I was sick. I couldn't think straight anyway. So, that's life. I ended up doing a small store for about a year or so, and ended up meeting a woman, and eventually we moved out of the city. And I proceeded to eventually I opened up another store in a small town near where we moved to, and I was essentially trying to buy the building. It was a commercial building on the main drag, and I could see that property values were rising, and I was hoping to purchase this building. The landlord gave me a very good deal on a rent-to-own. Basically, the rental, or most of the rental figure was going towards a down payment if I were to purchase the building. Unfortunately, it didn't work out business-wise because I couldn't get any employees that would work for minimum wage. Just a fact of the area. At the time, the oil patch was booming, and they basically took up all the decent employees. So I had a very hard time trying to get anybody to work. So I couldn't be out doing e-waste runs for businesses, which due to the regulations at the time, businesses had to pay to get their e-waste recycled, and it could have done quite well, but unfortunately just didn't work out. There's some personal reasons as well, which I won't bother going into. It was mainly because I couldn't get somebody to work the store and be open, as well as being able to travel around and deal with businesses' e-waste. Anyway, so that's where it sits. That's the couple businesses I've had, and since then I've just kind of combined things, doing scrap, trying to get the e-waste thing still going at the time. I did a bit of it off of the property that I worked at. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. I needed a building, didn't have a building there, and just didn't work. Didn't have the funds to build a new property or build on the property to build a new building. So anyway, didn't work out. Life happens. Since then, I'm in the middle of a divorce at the moment, and that should be finishing soon in the next couple months, I would think. And yeah, life happens. Life goes on. Stuff happens. Life goes on. My mantra. Except I don't use stuff. I use another word. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Just show you there's everybody has some deep, dark secrets in their past. But yeah. Oh, the right, the thing that came back to haunt us, the lady jumping off the loading dock, breaking her ankle, decided to sue us. Or sue me personally because I was the proprietor of the business. So I got sued. The insurance company dealt with it. As it turned out, the individual changed her story twice, and the judge got fed up and threw it out. So, yeah. So it fixed itself, but it also meant traveling back and forth between Winnipeg to deal with this and give testimony and that sort of thing. I don't know. So, happy picking, safe picking. Take care.